the motor was a bit weak, so I'm going to pop it apart and clean the commutator and inspect the brushes. There wasn't a lot wrong with this, and I did discover later what the actual issue with the low power on this machine is. But it's good to start with the basics, and if you have a motor, especially these sewing machine motors, that is weak or low power, checking the brushes and popping the end off to clean the commutator is a quick and easy thing to do. So these machines, the motors are all very generic for these Japanese machines. The difference is that they come with a special plug based on the customer. This has a little 2-pin plug on it. The 1207 has the same style motor, but it's wired into the 3-prong plug on the on that speed controller. Mercury Electric ordered ones with standard plugs on them for their stuff. So when you order a replacement motor, you'll get a motor that looks like this and just have to get the correct plug wired onto it. So when I opened this up, the commutator wasn't in bad shape. There was a little bit of carbon on the brushes, but the commutator didn't have any extra carbon or scoring on it. I did wipe it and thoroughly degrease it with rubbing alcohol and Q-tips. This whole machine was dry, so I did oil the bearings on the motor pretty extensively, but generally speaking, you should not over oil your motor bearings, because that oil can work its way into the motor. It gets on the commutator and helps stick carbon on there, and the carbon will bridge the contacts and cause the motor to have low power or short out. It can also get into the brushes, and some oils will soften the brushes and make them wear faster. So once I got this apart and cleaned it here, I put it back together. The disassembly was pretty easy. The 2 screws to take the bracket off, the 2 screws for the Kenmore tag, the 2 nuts that hold the 2 halves of the machine of the motor together, and then the end cap comes off, and you can see the entire motor is in one side, and the cap that covers the brushes is a separate piece that just comes off, so you can clean it and check everything out and put it back together without too much trouble. These are pretty good motors, and spoiler alert, one of the other things about this machine, because it was a low-end machine, they actually put a resistor in the foot pedal controller so that the entire machine is slower and runs just runs slower than the other machines in the line. So I found that while I was checking the motor controller pedal to make sure it was working, and I left the resistor in because I didn't want to rewire the pedal, but that is a clever trick that they did on these machines to make them seem less lower end than the more expensive machines like the 1207 that would have been sold next to them at the Sears. So a clever trick, but that does mean the machine feels a little underpowered, even though this motor seems to be in good condition.